Hello and welcome to the Blue Amber Saga. Today we're going to be talking all about ITP. And so, what is ITP? So, back when I was diagnosed with it, it is something called idiopathic thrombocytopenic purpura, but nowadays they call it immune thrombocytopenia. And basically, it is the lack of platelets in your body, and it's the result from the immune system thinking that your platelets are viruses or kind of bad things, and so as a result, um, it means that it increases the kind of time and the amount of bleeding that happens whether I injure myself inside or outside of my body. And so basically, platelets, they are the cells that make up scabs when you cut yourself, and they basically kind of, yeah, clot up any kind of holes in you, in effect. And so a bit more kind of just about ITP. So it actually tends to happen more in females than males, and it is considered back in the time when I was diagnosed with it that it was one in about 100,000 people. So lucky me to be diagnosed with it. Although currently in the US at the moment, there's probably about 4 to 8 people out of 100,000 um, who get it as well. And so I was diagnosed with this when I was 7 after I hit my leg on a step at school. And where you would kind of expect a kind of yeah, a stair-shaped bruise to appear, then actually the bruise went completely around my thigh and actually met at both ends when it got, yeah, when it all kind of came to meet each other. And so because of that, it means I have to actually be really careful if I get knocked or especially if I get hit in the head. And in one case, I did hit my head um, while I was at a beach, and I had this bruise that was here, and it completely went across my face. And it didn't actually really fade away at the time till maybe about 6 months later. And so, yeah, it just goes to show actually how of a big deal it can actually be. And but on a kind of more of a different extreme, then if I was touched really hard, so like for example, when I was little, when I might be stopped from walking out into the road and someone grabbed my hand, it was actually possible to leave a handprint of where I was touched, because again I was really sensitive to that. And so with this, there isn't actually really a cure to it, but though it can be controlled with medication. I mean, I've been really blessed in terms that I haven't actually needed to have any medication kind of prescribed on a regular basis for this. Although if I do have operations, then my blood needs to have the kind of platelet levels checked beforehand, and sometimes I might get a top up um, of that. Yeah, so I don't bleed out in an operating theatre, which would not be a good thing. And so in the past, I used to have regular blood tests to the point where I was actually having them weekly when I was kind of first diagnosed. And then this has kind of gradually kind of decreased over that time. And yeah, so normally I have it maybe once every 2 years or something like that now. And so my platelet levels actually does tend to rise and fall depending on how I'm feeling um, on the whole and how my immune system is doing. And so because of that, it can actually vary on what I can and cannot do. Um, but one of the kind of things from that, sadly, it did mean that I couldn't do any contact sports, especially when I was at secondary school. And to be fair, that might be because so at my primary school, um, I did do a bicycle kick quite soon after I had my diagnosis in football. And the teacher at the time, strangely enough, felt like really running away. And just to kind of make sure there was a happy ending to the story, so I was just a bit achy, and but I was fine at the time. But yeah, the teacher had a bit of a near scare with that, really. Um, but however, though, although I was kind of limited in that kind of way, then during that time, then actually it was through that I ended up getting to be part of the kind of school farm and being able to kind of work on it because apparently that was much more safer. Um, and so actually it ended up being a really big blessing in disguise. And without ITP, then I wouldn't actually have considered farming as a career. And so yeah, so that is a bit about the adventure that I have so far with ITP. So this is the Blue Amber Saga.